Essay number 15. Read this if you don't know what you're doing with your life. I'm going to guess something about you. At some point in the last week, maybe even today, you've had this thought. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And when that thought hit, it probably came with this sick feeling in your stomach, like you're falling behind, like everyone else has it figured out, and you're the only one stumbling around in the dark. If that sounds familiar, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say, because it might be the most important thing you hear this year. Nobody knows what they're doing with their life. Not your successful friend, not your parents, not that influencer whose life looks perfect. Nobody. And the idea that we should know is a massive pile of socially constructed garbage that's been force-fed to us since we were 5 years old. Think about how insane this expectation is. We ask 18-year-olds to choose a major that will determine their career. We ask 22-year-olds to pick a job that will become their identity. We ask 25-year-olds why they don't have their life together yet. We ask 30-year-olds if this is really where they thought they'd be. The entire framework is broken. We're expecting people to predict and plan a future in a world that's changing so fast that half the jobs that exist today didn't exist 20 years ago. We're asking people to commit to a life path before they've even figured out who they are. It's like asking someone to pick their favorite food before they've learned how to taste. But here's where it gets really interesting. You know why you don't have the things you once thought you wanted? You know why you're not the person you once thought you'd be? It's not because you failed. It's because you don't actually want those things anymore. Not really. Not deeply. If you did, if you truly desperately wanted them, you'd be moving toward them right now. You'd be doing whatever it takes to get them. The truth is, you've evolved. You've grown. You've learned things about yourself and the world that your younger self couldn't have known. But instead of celebrating this growth, you're punishing yourself for not sticking to a plan made by someone who didn't have all the information, your former self. Let me tell you something that might upset you. You owe nothing to your younger self. Zero. That person who decided at 16 that you'd be a doctor, they didn't know what being a doctor actually meant. That person who thought you'd be married by 25, they didn't understand what marriage actually requires. That person who thought success meant a certain salary or a certain lifestyle, they were operating on other people's definitions, not their own experience. You are not betraying your younger self by changing direction. You're honoring your current self by being honest about what you actually want now, with all the information and experience you've gained. Here's what's really happening when you say you don't know what you're doing with your life. You're in the space between realizing you don't want what you once did and giving yourself permission to want what you actually want now. You're in the discomfort of transition, the uncertainty of growth, the vulnerability of admitting that the story you've been telling yourself might not be true anymore. And that space, that uncertainty, it's not a problem to be solved. It's where life actually happens. Because here's the thing about knowing what you're doing with your life. It's a trap. The moment you think you have it all figured out, you stop paying attention. You stop listening to yourself. You stop responding to opportunities. You stop growing. You become so committed to the plan that you miss the life that's actually trying to emerge. Think about the most interesting people you know. Are they the ones who followed a straight line from point A to point B? Or are they the ones who've zigzagged, who've tried things and failed, who've changed direction, who've surprised themselves with what they've become? Certainty is comfortable, but it's also a cage. When you think you know exactly what your life should look like, you close yourself off to what it could look like. You stop experimenting, you stop exploring, you stop discovering, you trade the adventure of becoming for the safety of being. Hunger is important. I'm not talking about physical hunger. I'm talking about the hunger for more, for different, for better. The hunger that keeps you searching, questioning, growing. Complete fulfillment isn't the goal, it's the death of potential. People don't thrive when they're completely fulfilled. They stagnate. They stop reaching. They stop becoming. So forget this idea that you need to know what you're doing with your life. That's like trying to write the end of the book when you're still in chapter 3. You can't see the whole picture yet because you're still in it. You're still becoming. You're still discovering. You're still writing the story. Instead of asking, "What am I doing with my life?" which is an impossible question about an unknowable future, ask yourself better questions. What am I doing today? Who do I love right now? What intrigues me this week? What would I do this afternoon if I could do anything? What sounds fun this weekend? These aren't small questions. They're the only questions that matter because the present is the only time you can actually make choices. You can't make choices in the future. You can't change choices in the past. You can only choose right now, today, in this moment. What do I want? This is the question you need to ask yourself every single day. Not what should I want? Not what did I used to want? Not what do other people think I should want? Just what do I want right now, today, in this moment? The things that consistently show up in your answer, those are your truths. The desires that keep returning, the interests that won't leave you alone, the people you're repeatedly drawn to, the activities that make you lose track of time, these are your compass points. They're not the whole map, but they're pointing you in a direction. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't need the whole map. You just need the next step. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to see the next stair. You don't need to know where you'll be in 5 years. You just need to know what feels right today. Your life isn't a problem to be solved. It's an experience to be lived. It's not a destination to be reached. It's a journey to be traveled. It's not a question to be answered. It's a story to be written. And the story isn't about knowing. It's about discovering. It's about trying things and seeing what fits. It's about following your curiosity and seeing where it leads. It's about making choices based on who you are now, not who you used to be or who you think you should be. Every successful person you admire, every life that looks figured out from the outside, they didn't know either. They just kept moving. They kept choosing. They kept following what felt true in the moment, and eventually those moments added up to a life. Not a perfect life, not a planned life, but a real life, a lived life, a chosen life. The people who seem to have it all figured out are usually just better at pretending, or they're so locked into their plan that they've stopped questioning whether it's still right for them. Is that really what you want? To be so certain that you stop growing? To be so committed to a path that you can't change direction even when everything in you is screaming that it's wrong? You're not behind, you're not lost, you're not failing, you're human, you're growing, you're becoming. And that feeling of not knowing what you're doing, that's not a bug in the system. That's the system working perfectly. It's keeping you open, keeping you hungry, keeping you alive to possibility. The truth is, life is improvisation. We're all making it up as we go along. The people who seem to have it figured out are just more comfortable with the improvisation. They've accepted that uncertainty is the price of aliveness. They've realized that not knowing is not a problem to be fixed, but a space to be explored. So stop trying to figure out your whole life. Stop trying to see the end from the beginning. Stop punishing yourself for not knowing what nobody actually knows. Start asking yourself what you want today. Start honoring what's true for you now. Start trusting that if you keep following what feels right in the moments will add up to something meaningful. Because they will. They always do. Not in the way you planned, not in the way you expected, but in the way that's actually right for who you're becoming. You don't need to know what you're doing with your life. You just need to know what you're doing today. And if you don't know that either, then your job today is to try something, anything, and see how it feels. That's not directionless. That's not irresponsible. That's how you find your way. The path is made by walking. The life is made by living. And the person you're becoming is being created by every choice you make today, not by some grand plan you made yesterday. So stop apologizing for not knowing. Stop feeling guilty for changing direction. Stop comparing your messy, uncertain, beautiful journey to everyone else's carefully curated highlight reel. You don't know what you're doing with your life? Good. That means you're still alive to possibility. That means you're still capable of surprise. That means the best chapters of your story haven't been written yet. And that's not a problem, that's a gift.